All right, so warning, if you have not watched the videos about these different color change tests for the macromolecules, you're going to want to do that first because you're going to have to interpret the color changes for these three samples. So last night I went to Mars and I was able to find 3 sources of water. We've talked about how there's sources of water on Mars, and that might be an indication that there was life or there could be life. So I have 3 samples, one from Holden Crater, one from the southern polar caps, and then one from Hellas Basin. Okay, so I'm going to do a starch test using iodine. I'm going to do a protein test using the Biurettes. I'm going to do a quick lipid test just using the brown paper bag. And then I know the glucose test had Benedict solution, which is the best way to do it. But I have these quick glucose test papers, so I'm going to go ahead and see if I can find glucose in any of our samples. All right, so we're going to start with the Holden Crater, and I'm going to look at a glucose strip here. And I'm just going to compare similar to the pH test. And this actually has to sit for about 2 minutes, so I'm just going to go ahead and let that sit. And then we'll try some other tests here. I can try the lipid test. That's nice and quick. And remember, we're looking for that oily bottom of your McDonald's bag when the French fries spill out. That is what we're looking for. And that just doesn't look like that. That's kind of bleeding through. All right, so I'm going to do an iodine test, and just to kind of remind you about the iodine test. This is what's sitting around. Oh, here's the iodine test. This right here is just water, and the dark black is starch. So I'm going to go ahead and fill this just a couple of centimeters full, and then test for iodine. And so then you can write your observations and results from that. We're going to do a similar test for proteins. Just going to add some Biurettes to that. And you can see the kind of blue color of the Biurettes in that. Okay, coming back to our glucose test here, you can see it's 0.25% glucose, so that would be a positive test for glucose. In our southern polar cap, we're going to do the same set of tests. So let me go ahead and take some glucose strips. And we're going to let that sit for about a minute or 2. We can do our lipid paper. Let's see what happens with that. And while we're waiting, let's put a little bit in here. Let's go ahead and do a starch test with the iodine. Oh, that one changed quick. Okay. And let's do a similar test for proteins. You can kind of see that's a bluish color. Okay, so that is our southern, oh, hold on. We can see this bleeding through, so that's, we don't see the bottom of our McDonald's bag there. And with our glucose test, that's 0%. Last one is Hellas Basin. Okay, so we're going to do a glucose test and a lipid test real quick here. And let that sit. It's kind of bubbly. Okay, let's do a starch test first. That one turned nice right away as well. And we're going to quickly do a protein test. Ooh, that one's a nice, pretty purple color. All right, if we come back over here to our glucose test, I would say 0%. The edges are getting a little green, but I think that's because I have all this sitting here contaminating it. And our lipid test, yeah, that's bleeding right through. So we don't see any oily residue there either. All right, so that is your results, and you will be analyzing in your assessment questions.